Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Good evening, people. Hope everyone is doing well on this rather luscious Friday night, and been a few interesting things to talk about today. We've got a few topics on the sale front of things. We've seen a whole plethora of images of Andre Onana arriving in the States and making moves with the squad, which is all nice to see. Um, but also a couple of more breaking stories in the latter hours of the day. So before we get stuck into things, do be sure that you are smashing a like, especially for those who are joining the stream early, midway through, or late, whenever it is you tune in, but also when you're watching this on playback. If you so choose to watch this on playback, you might choose otherwise. But also make sure that you are subscribing. We are one subscriber off of 40, so another landmark achievement. Can't complain with that. We're making moves. We're on the way. We're journeymen here. We are absolutely journeymen here. But let's not hold back any longer. Let's dive straight into things. So, first thing on the docket, first topic on the cards. Anthony Elanga off to Forest on a permanent deal. We knew that Anthony Elanga was leaving, but I think most people would have assumed that it would be Everton that would be the club to sign him, and that's what I was under the assumption of for a long time. I was under the assumption that look, Everton, they're in the driving seat for this deal. They're the favourites. They're the club most likely to actually signing the player. But doubts crept in to the deal. Not really too sure as to what side of the side of the deal it was that doubts were casted, but apparently on Alanga's side, perhaps he didn't feel as though playing for Sean Dyche would best suit him or best fit him, and so when the questions start arising, you start to second guess the deal. It's a bit like the Alex Telles deal. The Alex Telles deal. Now that was supposedly meant to be a done deal. Here we go. He's off to the Middle East, but that's not quite as clear cut as it seems. It was even Fabrizio Romano supposedly saying that it's essentially a done deal. The fees are supposedly agreed, and Bob's your uncle. It's a done deal, and Anthony Elanga felt as though it'd be the same sort of story to Everton, but second guesses happen, the doubts creep in, and then plans changed, and now we are dealing with Anthony Elanga. It's no longer going to Everton, but he's going to another Premier League outfit, and that Premier League outfit's in the form of Nottingham Forest. So there is one person that I can think of that perhaps I'd like to hear from about this topic, about this discussion, as well as another player, and that's Longhead Yeti. If you don't know who he is, he's a Nottingham Forest supporter. Also has his own YouTube channel, so he's currently Longhead Yeti's Cave is the channel name at the moment. He did change it, but do be sure to go drop him a subscription and go check out some of his content as he's uploading. I believe it's daily that he's doing uploads. I'm not really too sure as to what his schedules are, if he does work two schedules, but I think his viewpoints and thoughts on a couple of these subjects is probably going to hold a lot more weight. Will probably be a lot more interesting to hear his side of things regarding not just the Anthony Elanga deal, but also Dean Henderson, which we're going to jump into straight after this one, but Anthony ELANGA linked to Nottingham Forest on a permanent transfer. That's apparently wrapping itself up now. Supposedly here, I think it was Fabrizio Romano had given clarity on this. That's the final fee here is going to be close to about £15 million, which is all right. It's it's okay for Anthony ELANGA. I can't really have too much complaints about that. It's a fair price, and I think for a lot of the cases that we're going to struggle, I think to get or command respectable fees for a lot of our players, a lot of outgoings. That to get 15 million for someone who doesn't really play for the first team at all, I think is a fair shot deal. So I'm happy to take the money and run, as it were. But one side of this dealings to Nottingham Forest that I'm not so thrilled with is what I've recently heard regarding Dean Henderson to Nottingham Forest, because I don't think there's not really the case that there's much in the way of agreements on permanent transfers, or as far as permanent transfers go, and that I've heard in the discussion that was including the purchase of Anthony ELANGA, is that perhaps United might be angling more towards a loan deal, as that outcome is entering the discussions. Because I know there's talks still ongoing for Dean Henderson, right, to finding the breakthrough on that deal, and to try and find a an agreement on fee wise. I think it's all really to do with the fees, that there's any questions or any inquiries. I think it's all just around the deal side of things, the fee side of things, because I don't think really Dean Henderson's got that much doubt about going to Nottingham Forest and going there on a permanent, because I'm pretty sure the guy by about now, I mean, he used to be a supporter of this club. I don't know if he still is, but the way that his situations have been handled for a long time, I wouldn't blame him if he is kind of sick and tired of things at the moment. So yeah, it's more just, it's the quicker we can get him out the door, the better for all parties involved. He's currently out on the tour, which I think is just more as a precautionary if Andre Onana couldn't be done in time, but Onana is out there. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing Dean Henderson put on the United shirt ever again. So the sooner this can be resolved on the Nottingham Forest side as well as United side, then the better. And if we can command a good fee on the sale aspect of the player, then even better. Nottingham Forest might do us a solid with pumping some extra cash into our transfer kitty. So we'll take that. We'll take that. Happy days. Nottingham Forest, you might sweeten the pot a little bit with our summer transfer plans, if we will, and might finance an extra transfer or two. That would be lovely stuff. And Onana in training is the next thing that we are going to move over to. But the images, pictures, all sorts have come out regarding Onana in training, and it's a good thing to see. Very, very good thing to see. Very important thing to see that he's got some time to be training with the first team. I've heard that with Ten Hag, with some of his quotes regarding this US tour, there's a lot of, I'd say, calling to arms or challenging of the squad to not treat any of these games as though they are pre-season friendlies, but take them more seriously and actually send a message with them. So a good thing, I'd definitely say a good sign, a good words of encouragement from the manager to basically just big up the rallying cries to actually be beating all the teams that we play against in pre-season, because I know sometimes you'll get managers come out and say it's just minutes in the legs, it's just trying to get some fitness under the belt, and that's, I guess, is the sort of be all and end all with pre-season games, right? That is essentially the be all and end all. But at the end of the day, if you've got a manager that's saying, well, look, doesn't matter what context that we're playing a club, say like Arsenal or Chelsea or Real Madrid or whoever, whatever the club is, doesn't matter what context it is, you should always want to beat them. And that's a sentiment that I definitely agree with, that I feel. Uh, yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same mindset. It's like with the Leeds game, you know, everyone enjoys, especially if you're a United fan, everyone enjoys beating Leeds. And even though it was a pre-season friendly and the first pre-season friendly, one side of me says, well, it's just a throwaway game. So even if we lost that game, it literally could not matter any less if you tried. But at the same time, you get that sense of like, oh, yes, fist ups, plus ones and all of that when you go and beat someone like Leeds. Because obviously rivalry reasons, can't really debate with that. But more importantly, it's just if you're beating teams with conviction, you're putting in good performances and you're treating things seriously, it sets a good precedent. And it gives more of an insight as to what direction you're going to go in. It answers more questions than posing. Well, yeah, it answers more questions than it would pose new questions or new problems. So it's all thumbs up in my camp regarding the call to arms from Eric Ten Hag about treating these games more seriously. And I think I mean, I don't know if it will play anything in mind games if we end up beating Arsenal tomorrow, because I know that game's. I don't know if it's. I've already seen some of the mainstream channels, right, talk about this as like, oh, this isn't a pre-season friendly, and it's just like, well, figuratively it is, but it's just like they're trying to play off of rivalry to generate that sort of, a bubbling of emotions and to sort of raise the stakes or add stakes to a game where you don't actually win or lose anything at all whatsoever. And it's like, you're not going to sit here in about 6 months' time and start bragging to Arsenal fans, say, oh, we beat you in pre-season. And it should be vice versa. I know there's going to be Arsenal fans, if they beat us tomorrow, in 6 months' time, they're going to be going, ha ha, we beat United in the pre-season US tour. So, and okay, cool. Do you win anything with that? No. So, at the end of the day, it's not going to matter in the long run. But use the opportunity to take the game seriously and to actually, push yourself through the paces and through the motions and actually leave a lasting impact, more so for yourself than on the opponent, because they've got plenty more games where they're going to build confidence and get some form, get momentum and all of that. And we need to do the same. We do need to do the same. So fingers crossed that we can put in a good performance and actually do some damage, and press forwards, get some good confidence and momentum and a bit of a feel good factor around the camp. That's always a nice thing. We're going to jump into next story. Just a sort of a bit of a topical discussion based thing. We're just basically going through each thing that I can see basically on the page in front of me and give my thoughts and feelings on these topics as such. And I encourage people who do tune in to do the same. Got a comment section there. Type in on the live chat. It's an interactive show, so if you've got some thoughts and feelings about the topics all to do with United, or maybe even to do with other clubs, do be sure to drop your messages into the chat, as well as then if you're watching on playback, comment section below if there's anything that concerns you about any element of the club, or if it's to do with any other club, because that's my open invitation to the viewers, that you're more than welcome to engage with me, and I shall engage with you about whatever topic of discussion that it is that you want to bring up. Obviously, it has to do with football. I'm not going to start talking about the weather or politics or just stop oil protesters as such. But who knows? I mean, for this show, we'll keep it football orientated, but maybe I do opt to doing something um, where we do just talk absolute smack about everything, um, everything and everyone. We'll talk smack about everything and everyone. Like we will, like no one shall be safe from being shat on by me. But anywho, we are going to move on. So, Bruno Fernandes, confirmed captain of Manchester United. Obviously, this is not really breaking news as such, but it's a topic of discussion. I think most people are in the same camp and in the same boat with this. You know, everyone feels the same way. Well, most people feel the same way and say, "Well, Bruno Fernandes is captain." It was, I think, we could see it coming from a mile away. I think last season was the biggest teller for this situation and how it was going to go. The fact that Maguire sits on the bench for pretty much like most of the season, only occasionally plays, but when he does play, sometimes he'll get the captaincy. And Bruno Fernandes, who starts most of the games, is constantly captain. So I think this situation was almost, you could predict it. You could see it coming from a mile away. And I think it's a justified action. I think because he's got the experience based off of last season, and he did a fairly good job with the captaincy. Did a lot more than Harry Maguire ever did in the sort of 2-3 seasons he was as captain. Some people will say, "Well, poor Harry Maguire. Oh, we should give him another chance without the captain's armband." As though literally people honestly think that the captaincy changes people from night and day. And I see some people talking about Maguire in like a back three system. It's like grabbing clips from his days at Hull City when he was literally playing the middle of a back three. And I'm just thinking to myself, but this is just trying to find every excuse to validate any claim for Maguire to actually make it into the first team picture for United. And I know some people of other clubs have started doing it as well, where they're like, well, actually, he wouldn't be so bad in the middle of a back three. I'm thinking, Harry Maguire back then was actually an ambitious footballer. Right now, he could not give less of a toss. He could not give less of a toss about what happens, what he does, or where his career goes. I mean, maybe he does sort of have half a toss as to where his career goes, because if he leaves United, he's not going to be able to get off easy anymore. Can't get away with doing nothing with relative ease anymore. So he's going to have to start working his arse off again. And I think he's clocked that, definitely clocked that. And fingers crossed for his sake that he'll actually get tested and pressed to actually, because he plays for England as well, right? And his England national team place is now in jeopardy. It's in massive jeopardy that he might lose his England slot because he's not playing for United. He's got the captaincy revoked from his responsibilities. And now he's losing any sort of reason to feature for this England national team anymore. So for his sake, he's got to start pulling the finger out and busting his balls to actually warrant any form of selection. But even then, I mean, even this on my Twitter feed right here is saying you might like Harry Maguire. Well, actually, can I actually get this off? No, I can't. I cannot. Oh dear. No, I can't remove it off the "you might like" tabs. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna decide to suddenly like Harry Maguire. But anyhow, Bruno Fernandes is captain. That gets a thumbs up from me. I'm happy with that. I know some people, they'll say, well, the guy's too petulant. The guy acts like a child half the time. But for me, it's like he's the only person realistically in this squad that is best most suited and most qualified, justifiably qualified to lead this team and to captain it. Some people might say, "Oh, Casemiro, because he commands the respect or he's got Champions League trophies." The guy barely speaks a word of English. It's an English club. The captain's got to be able to speak multiple languages. Casemiro doesn't really speak it. Like, maybe he knows a little bit of English, but as a captain, like, Bruno Fernandes can speak pretty much every single player's language that we have in the squad. So I mean, it explains itself. The prospects of Bruno Fernandes being able or being the captain explains itself. Like, just do the background checks. Happy days. But don't know what anyone else feels about that. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. But as I say, it's an interactive show. Leave your thoughts in the chat. Leave your thoughts in the comment section if you watch it on playback. As a quick clap back to ELANGA stories here. So ELANGA's medical is set to take place next week. So yeah, that's basically an add-on. So it's basically a confirmed thing that Anthony ELANGA is off to Nottingham Forest, which is all good. Alex Telles, that deal supposedly is not going through at the moment, which is not great for us because, I mean, it's a very small fee, a very, very, very small fee. Al Nasser is the club in question, about £6 million thereabouts, or even euros, I think was also mentioned. It's not a big fee, and the fact that this is coming from Saudi Arabia, that they're second guessing the decisions to perhaps press forward with trying to negotiate for an Alex Telles deal. I've just spotted some other piece of news regarding Al Nasser for a United player, and we've got Eric Bailly on the outgoings as well. Supposedly, they've approached the same club. Al Nasser have approached MUFC for a potential deal for Eric Bailly, who will make a decision soon. He's not going to make a decision soon. The guy wants to leave. He wants to leave now. He knows he's not displacing anybody. Fulham and Al Ettifaq. I don't even know how to pronounce that, so I apologise for any Al Ettifaq supporters if that's not how you pronounce your name. But a few more clubs starting to generate a little bit of interest for Eric Bailly. Interestingly enough, he's not kicked a ball for us, so they're probably basing all of their data tabs and whatnot off of last season or his previous happenings whilst he was on loan at Olympique Marseille. But yes, Alex Telles news that the deal they're second guessing is a little bit concerning, but at the same time, not so much. I mean, Alex Telles, we're offering him up for dirt cheap, literally next to no money. Same thing with Eric Bailly. The only question marks really regarding some of these players, and I think it's only really Eric Bailly where you'll find this to be a problem, is the wage side of things, because I don't think Alex Telles ever really negotiated a massive, massive wage like Eric Bailly has, at least not to my knowledge. He might be on about a similar amount, to be fair. Maybe that's why there's not as much interest in Telles as there is for other players, but yes, so a little bit concerning with the Telles story, but at the same time, not a massive it's not cataclysmic. We don't have to panic right now, right? We don't need to panic too much. It's still like simmer down. These deals will happen. They're bound to happen. Alex Telles, Eric Bailly, and the Middle East are getting involved. So I think we can say that once the interest comes from the Middle East, once it starts to generate itself, the heat starts to pick up, the wheels start turning, the deals will happen. The deals will come through, and we'll get players sold. So I think I'll tell you what. If Saudi Arabia doesn't have this crazy thing of signing loads and loads and loads of players, like a stupid amount of money to spend, what's to say that we actually have serious problems in selling anybody this window? I know that Chelsea would have struggled because you see the amount of players that they've offloaded to the Middle East. I'll tell you what, without the Middle East, there's a lot of clubs that would be struggling to sell Deadwood. There'll be a lot of clubs struggling to sell them. So actually, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, but this is a big concerning point. This is really concerning that the Middle East are taking all the players." But it's like, but at the same time, objectively, these clubs and fans and communities, they want to see their clubs selling players that they know the club don't need, but no one else would buy them, but the Middle East will. So, you know, pick your poison. Pick your poison. Which one is it? Are you happy to get rid of these players, and that is the Middle East buying them, or are you concerned? Are you afraid that the Middle East might be coming to take the Premier League's top spot? I mean, come on. If the Saudi league ever compete with the Premier League over which league is more like competitive or dominant or fruitful, let's use fruitful, right? Where it's more interesting to watch, more interaction, more inclusivity. If the Saudi league ever gets to that point, it's the only people to blame really are the English FA and the clubs, right? The clubs that will literally just sit on their fingers all day, every day, and not really be contributing to actually improving how competitive the league actually is. But that's sort of a bridge that we'll address that in say maybe 2, 3, 4 years, maybe even 5, between 5 and 10 years. We don't know how long it's going to take. Saudi Arabian clubs, they might be doing the same thing in January, the same thing next summer, the January after that, the summer after that. They might be doing those sorts of things, but who knows? Who knows? That's for them to decide, and that's for them if the finances work out okay, then all good for them. Big ups to them. They're trying to make a competitive league, and big ups the quality and improve footballing outreach in the Middle East. So fair plays to them. There's another topic that I want to quickly cover to address. Well, actually, before we do so, number 24 for Andre Onana. What's people's thoughts on that? Number 24, interesting, because David De Gea gave up the number 1, and Andre Onana's taking the number 24. So, what is the thinking behind that? Do we reckon that's a club feeling sentimental about De Gea thing, or is that an Andre Onana has personally requested that he wants the number 24? Personally, I'm probably going to steer more towards that. Andre Onana just said, "Look, I want number 24." Maybe there's a commemoration there or something. Is quite possible. I would hope it's not the case that the club are being a little bit petty with the shirt numbers and everything. So they pull the trigger, like they're very, very trigger happy on ensuring that Mason Mount, the star boy, the new star boy, right, the new marquee signing, gets the number 7 shirt, but then turn around to Andre Onana and say, "Well, look, you're the number 1 goalkeeper, but we're not going to give you the number 1 shirt. You can pick another squad number instead." Well, I'd hope it's not the club being petty in that regards, but who knows? It might be the case. It might be the case. I don't know how sad the people at this club are. I know they're pretty sad. I say they're pretty sad. They're very, very sad people who run our club and who run the footballing decisions at our club. So, but yeah, Eric Ten Hag has also said a few comments regarding Andre Onana. I'm going to see if I can find these all compiled. Yeah, so so this is literally by Manchester United quotes that they've published here. So this is Eric Ten Hag's quotes on Andre Onana. Most important always for a keeper is clean sheets, and he's not doing that on his own. Therefore, you need a very good defensive organisation. But nowadays, football also demands good playing from the back, outplaying qualities, and that is a quality Andre has. You need both, and you need to cover both areas So yeah, we're happy, of course. Did ONANA have a good relationship with Martinez at Ajax? Yes, of course. With the centre half, it's very important that communication. It's always a very important part. It's about cooperation and the team, and the keeper with his back four, the keeper with this whole team. It has to be connected. So, stating the obvious a little bit, stating the obvious a little bit, but it's necessary basically just to reiterate any obvious points, just as like double down. No doubts about how people feel about a signing, or basically just adding juicing up the confidence in the outcome of this signing, basically. And I'm sure it will work out. I'm sure it will. I'm sure we'll do absolutely fine with Andre and Anna in the team. Um, Maybe the cynical or pessimistic or sadistic side of my mind probably says that, well, what's to say the first game that he plays competitively, he has several howler mistakes and we end up losing the game by like 3-1 or 4-1 or something, and it all be just down to the goalkeeper. Because that can happen. That can happen. But I think Andre Onana is a bit too blockbuster and a bit too crazy with it to, get smashed for 3 or 4 on match day one. Stranger things have happened, so I'm not going to count my chickens. That is not going to definitely happen. But sometimes you just got to be real with it. Just as a chiming off of last quote, basically in this list of posts, that so you need the social and communication skills to get that on the highest level. On the level with the demand and standards are very high in the Premier League, especially with MUFC. So yeah, basically say, look, the pressure is on for Onana, of course it is. It's the Premier League. It's not like just the country is watching you. The whole world is. The whole world is watching you. So the pressure is there, and it's a very tall order. It's a very tall task in front of you, a very challenging task. But he's coming into a big club with big expectations, very high expectations. And the manager's trying to do that. He's trying to, set the standards as high as he can, and it's also part in, it's sort of like a hand in hand thing where the manager will try to upkeep standards as high as he can from his side of things. We have to keep the standards high on our side of things, and demand for success. Don't let 6 out of 10s or 5 out of 10s ever be accepted or become the norm for Manchester United in any case scenarios. So it's important that we should be very critical where it's justified to criticise a player for a bad performance as such. So if Andre Onana has, a really, really bad performance, it's just like, right, you have one bad performance, you make sure that your next game you put in a good performance. And if it starts becoming like a string of bad performances, it's just like, no, drop him. Bad performances. It's like what Leeds did with their goalkeeper Meslier when he had a torrid time in goal, completely lost his confidence, and then they just said, "Well, look, we can't. He's definitely the number one goalkeeper. We can't just keep trusting and backing someone who's letting goals in for fun." So they dropped him. Obviously, because it's Leeds and they're down bad, they're down horrendous. It's not going to fix anything because the whole team is crap. But anyhow, it's a club acting and responding to standards not being high enough for that club. So you act upon it, you act accordingly to where your standards perhaps are not being respected as much, or not being the standards are not being lived up to. So we should do the same for us. Yeah, we should do the same for us. So that's without a doubt. There's some other quotes from Ten Hag and Andre Onana, but we've long since read past those, so we're not going to really bother too much about that. Can I jump on to us? Which should we do first? Højlund? Should we do Højlund first, or should we do Amrabat? I'll probably say Amrabat because I'd be a little bit more. I'd be a little bit more mad if we don't get Amrabat compared to Hoyland. Surprise, surprise for anyone that's wondering. Even though Hoyland is the priority, um, I'd be a little bit more mad because Sofian Amrabat is, for the role that he would take up in the Manchester United squad, is actually pivotal, very, very pivotal. You see, and a case in point that I would probably give light to is when the season that Man City essentially played without a striker, they still won the league because everywhere else was super strong. And we are in a situation where strikers are massively lacking. And people will say, well, you've not got any strikers. I mean, how do you expect to score goals? Well, which would you rather? A striker that can score you goals, or a midfielder that improves your away form because of the added spine strength and control to each and every single game? So even when your strikers aren't, I mean, think of it like this: last season we essentially didn't have a striker, but how many games did we play where we didn't have the right level of control of a game, or we travelled away from home and we didn't have any control, any foothold in the game? It's like Newcastle away. We got to have a strong spine that controls the game and recycles possession. Newcastle away, Man City away, Liverpool away, um, Arsenal to some extent away, Brentford away. I mean, Leeds United away. We won that. But even the games that we actually won away from home, right? We still had elements of those performances where it's just like, but on a different day, we don't win that game. And it's like, we can't just be blind to that by saying, but a striker will fix all of our problems. When in actuality, it probably won't. You see, obviously, having a striker is going to help you score more goals in certain aspects. But if you've got a strong midfield where you don't get smashed and destroyed by every team, where it literally the seas part, like Moses parts the seas, the Manchester United defense just opens up and just lets everything in. You know, I mean, I know what I'd prefer. I'd prefer it if Manchester United didn't open up like Moses part in the seas. I really wish that I'd be getting the the solution to that problem before the fact that we haven't got a goal scoring number 9 at the club. So that's just how I feel. Plus, there are alternative players that, Ten Hag, and I suppose that's one of the things is that Ten Hag's got all sorts of alternatives to the striker position that he can go for, um, well within reason. Sofian Amrabat is a very cheap option, but a very competent option for another key position on the pitch. You know, I prefer going for another DM that actually plays alongside Casemiro, or if Casemiro gets suspended, Sofian Amrabat is playing along with whoever else in midfield, and you say, okay, well at least we're not going to go to this ground and get smashed for 6 or 7 goals. At least we don't have to worry about that. You know, I mean, you can win games and score goals without a striker. I mean, Marcus Rashford was doing it from the left wing, and I mean, if you've got control, you recycle possession well, you're playing high up the pitch. So we haven't got a goalkeeper that is costing us at the back. We haven't got a slow poke defence that has to play a deep line. We haven't, if we, for argument's sake, we sign Amrabat, we don't have a defensive midfield that gets pummeled and just passed through as though it's not there. We've got a defence that's actually competent by playing with ball distribution, like playing out from the back. The transitions are smooth. We don't really like. We can play with some risk, but you're more likely to get more reward from it because there's more opportunity to do so, because there's better control. You get possession back more easily, you control the game more easily, you don't get pressed as much, you can deal with pressure as much. It's like you tick more boxes by having a very strong spine in your team, a very competent spine in your team, very competent midfielders in your team that help a transition from back to front. that also contain the threat and damage from front to back. A striker is the finisher. We were dealing last season with an issue where we don't have to just finish. We're having lots of issues where we won't even able to get to the last part of the play. We can't even get to the last part of the play because a pass goes astray or someone's not doing something further up the pitch, so that midfielder loses possession and that midfielder's out of position. The other midfielder's there, can't do the job, get passed through. The opposition get a shot on goal. And it's, limit the chances that you give up. And I think obviously with Andre ONANA, helps us to begin from the back. So there's more attacking scenarios, there's more attacking potential there, and having another gem in midfield just allows us for even more expansive options from further back. Whereas whoever it is up top will have so much fun with all of these chances being created for him, even if he has the most awful conversion. I mean, even Wout Weghorst could sit up top and actually get numerous chances. And that's what, Mark Goldbridge says it on the United stand. The problem that we've got is we don't make much chances. We don't make chances as much as we should be. Maybe the odd home game we drop like 20 to 30 shots, but most of them will be off target snapshots because we can't get close enough to the goal to actually have a good chance to make a good solid chance. So anybody, if they're in the danger area, regardless of their quality, even Mateta, we could have Mateta in the team. If we've got a solid build-up foundation from deep, that Mateta can sit in front of goal and just be happy scoring, even if he has the worst conversion rate in the world. The guy's going to have chance after chance after chance. We can improve on that element later on. We could sign a 31, 32-year-old Harry Kane, and he'd come in, get chance after chance after chance after chance, score goals, score goals, score goals, score goals, because the rest of the team is ticking. The rest of the team is working. All the parts of this machine are well oiled. Everything, all the cogs are turning. Everything is looking good. It's feeling fresh. It's feeling energized. It's all going in the right direction, and that's what we want. That's first step for me. That's first core step to actually going to take this team to a Manchester City level, because there's your bar, Manchester City. Does a striker solve our problems? No, it doesn't. Having a solid spine, does that solve a lot of our problems? Yes, it does. Of course, not having a striker, it's going to be a problem. But the amount of times you'll see a team that play without an actual goal-scoring number 9 in their team, they can get by. Man City won a title without a recognised striker playing in the team. They won a league title with it because the rest of the team is so good. It can just do the same thing. Of course, it's a tall order to say, oh, we'll go win a title. It's a tall order. But we can get by a season and actually go somewhere and go places. You can win other trophies, the FA Cup, Carabao Cup. Champions League, again, is a tall ask, but what's to say? Inter Milan got to a final. That's Inter Milan. We weren't even anywhere somewhat trash in the league and somewhat trash in parts of the Champions League. In the group stage, they didn't look that good. We still got to a final. So all things are possible, but it's really just the absolute key parts of this team that we got to address. And for me, I feel as though that's the key thing to fix is the defensive midfield position. Got to get another DM in, another midfielder. That's it. We'll be okay. We'll be okay in the midfield, and then you can go for your striker. If we sell ELANGA and Dean Henderson, just stick that money, push it to the side, and then do the Sofyan Amrabat deal. Happy days. If you can go get both, then that's not just one thumbs up. That's 2 thumbs up. If you can go get both, you've got the money at the moment to do the Højlund deal. So do the Højlund deal. Sell ELANGA and Henderson super fast. Eric Bailly, Alex Tellers. There's 4 players that are about to leave the club. 4 players are about to leave the club. Sell all 4 of those, just on their money alone, you can sign Sofian Amrabat, but also push a couple of extra bucks over to the direction of contributing to an additional transfer after Amrabat and Højlund. Zion Suzuki, you'll probably have enough to get some money for him. You see, there's plans here, and it's like we can see these plans, right? We can see these plans. They are right there in front of us. The problem that we have, and this is sort of going to my next point here, other clubs are actively recruiting as well. Sofian Amrabat is on other clubs' radars. Sofian Amrabat would like to go to La Liga. That's his most preferable. That's his most preferable destination. He would like to go play in La Liga, but he's also open to United. He's very open to United, and he's very aware of that. He would not complain at all if he gets the offer from Man United. But it's about the club. The club's got to do the business. The club's got to push their interest and actually go on to signing the player. That's for the club to do. So if we miss out on Amrabat, the only people to blame are the club. Because the player's there. He's essentially, you can waltz in, sign the player, happy days. I mean, of course, you're going to have to sell some players before you can actually afford to buy Amrabat. So hurry up and sell the players. Elanga's gone. So that's about £15 million in the transfer kitty. Dean Henderson should be an easy sale. I mean, just from those two, you can buy Sofian Amrabat. So essentially, you can put the first bid in maybe midweek next week. And that's sort of trying to be a bit more sort of relaxed on it. Like, if I'm trying to be like, give the club a little bit of leeway, give them a little bit of patience. Okay, then I'll give you until midweek to go and place your first bid for Sofian Amrabat. Who knows? I mean, we need to hurry up with the Højlund deal as well, because other clubs are circling in, actively recruiting. PSG have Højlund on the radar, and you know there is communications between PSG and Atalanta right now. So if this club are serious about backing Ten Hag, they will see that and they'll go, "Welp, shit, right. Let's speed things up. Let's wrap things up as quickly as we possibly can now, because we're going to end up losing out on this player if we don't start to work faster and start trying to push the agenda now." And I don't know how concerned everyone else is about that, the potential for Højlund to end up going to PSG. I think everyone knows that Højlund is a United supporter. I don't think anyone has any doubts about that. But PSG, an actual, serious sporting organisation who actually have a competent negotiations team, are ready to go, and they're saying that they're ready to go start conversations. They already are conversing. Hence, they've colluded a lump sum to open their bidding with. So it's going to be, a bit of a squeaky bum time for United fans who want Højlund at the club. If it was down to me, I would go with Kolo Muani, but that's just me. But Rasmus Højlund, I mean, because there's a priority for Ten Hag, this club, there's going to have a lot of pressure and a lot of anger, a lot of rage directed towards it if Højlund disappears off the PSG. There's going to be a lot of anger. There's going to be a lot of resentment for this board again, and then it's back into it's back up shit creek for Murtaugh madness again. And Richard Arnold, where's my £1 billion? Yeah, it's going to be straight back into problem central. And just to reaffirm the PSG interest in Højlund is that Tanziloik Tanziloik, I think that's how you pronounce them, on Twitter here, that PSG won't have any major difficulties in signing Rasmus Højlund. They're not going to have any problems. So they could make this, if they so fancy it, an open and close case, open and close case, an open and close case. They can make this literally. They'll say, "Hello, we'd like to buy Højlund. Okay, how much? How much are you going to bid? Okay, so you estimate about what, 60 million euros? There it is. Happy days. We'll take the player. Thank you very much. That's Fees agreed for PSG, Rasmus. So if you want to go ahead and negotiate with PSG, you're welcome to. So Rasmus could literally just turn around to PSG tomorrow and say, well, because the clubs have accepted, PSG's a good club to go to. I'll go there. And we'll look like clowns again. We'll look like absolute clowns yet again. And thank you, Manchester United, John Murtough and Richard Arnold, for that. Because priority, supposedly, recognised target striker for, about a month now, who've been interested. And if we turn around in a couple of days' time, PSG, whilst we spent about a month being interested and talking to Atalanta for a deal for Rasmus Højlund and all of the fake bids being submitted and fake asking prices, for PSG to start negotiations and to wrap up the deal within half a week, about 3 to 7 days. I mean, it's just so Manchester United to do that. It absolutely is. You start conversations with PSG on Friday, sign for the club, hold up the shirt on Monday, Tuesday time. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. I wouldn't be surprised. And will I be angry about it? I won't be angry about the fact that we missed out on Rasmus Højlund as such. I won't be as angry about that. What I'll be angry about is that, Rasmus Højlund was an Erik ten Hag target and you didn't get him. So you're not backing your manager. So we're going back. So the club's going backwards again, right? The club is going backwards again. Ten Hag told you he wanted this player about a month ago, and you still haven't signed him. PSG wrap up the deal within 4 days. Just to speak hypothetically, if they do sign Rasmus Højlund in record time, we'll look like absolute idiots. And here's the thing. Some people might have said, oh, but we've got the sell to buy for Højlund. Well, no, we don't. No, we don't. We literally had 3 players that we could sign solely based off of the money that we had available or the funds that we have released to us. Everything else had to be a sell to buy. We've got 4 players that are about to leave the club. There's 4 players to give us extra money to go buy 2 other players, Zion Suzuki and Sofia Amrabat. You've got the money to sign Rasmus Højlund. Where is he? Where is he? I mean, it's not my go-to player. I would sign other strikers, but I mean, come on. If he's your target, you sign him. If you're serious, you sign him. If you're backing your manager, you sign him. I mean, what do you say if you're in Edward? I keep saying Edward Wood. If you're in John Murtaugh's shoes, right? And you pick up the phone and someone's just told you, yeah, Rasmus Højlund has just signed for PSG. How do you get on the phone for Erik ten Hag and say, Erik, the player that we were trying to sign for you for like a month? Yeah, PSG just walked in and signed a player like in about a couple of days. Yeah. Yeah, the negotiators for Atalanta, yeah, they were making jokes about me, Yeah, they've absolutely embarrassed me. Yeah, so yeah. I mean, we can go sign Wout Weghorst again if you want. I mean, what on earth would we be doing? It's like this. It's like the stories when we got linked or someone said somewhere that we might actually consider going back in for Marcel Sabitzer. But it's like subjectively, you might actually
reconsider signing about Weghorst again. Like it's a genuine possibility if the targets disappear because other clubs are recruiting, and if Eric Ten Hag is on the market for a striker for his team, other clubs are going to look at that and go, well, actually, let's have a look at that player as well. He might actually be good for us. And then the more competent clubs will sign those players instead of United. So Ten Hag's got all of his players that he wants, that he likes. That's like, yes, please, I'll happily sign that player. I'll happily take that player. So you get all of that interest, all of his players, the whole transfer list, everything, all the shortlisted players, all the names, just to end up signing absolutely nobody on them. Instead, you have to think of something up on the spot. You have to trying to think of the term. Think of something on the fly. It's some term that's not coming to my mind. My brain is asleep. But essentially, it's like, so priority number one was just keep backing this manager, keep giving him the targets he wants. Were there 3 players? Were there 3 names that we could sign in the summer? Yeah, there was. There absolutely was. Cool. So sign those 3 names, and whoever else, sell to buy. Cool, that's fine. We've got players to sell. We've got to sell some players. That's fine. We can sort that out. We've not sold any first team players yet. Alex Tellers supposedly is going off to the Middle East, but his buying club have got second outs. The same club are interested in Eric Bailly, so those talks are only just starting. Got Dean Henderson, who's supposed to be going to Nottingham Forest, and we want him to be sold to Forest and not loaned. So whoever's saying, "Oh, we might loan him," please, I beg you, wherever the information you got that from, can you reverse that and send that back and just say, no, United have come back and they're saying that they're only going to sell the player. Like, please, we need to sell Dean Henderson. And then Anthony Elanga is the only sort of guaranteed player thus far on the sell list that we've got that we've got any realistic chance of getting any money for right here, right now. So Elanga is the nearest thing to a first team player. He's not even a first team player, but he's the nearest thing to a first team player we've got that we can sell. And thankfully, we get some good money for him. Obviously, with Donny van der Beek being, you know what, and that's an interesting thing, because some people might say, who's the backup to Bruno Fernandes in the team? Mason Mount, or who else? Who else would be the backup of Donny van der Beek? Donny van der Beek is supposedly the backup to Bruno Fernandes. That's how he was being used for a fairly, extended period of time. And I think Donny van der Beek, I know Donny might be saying, well, I want first team football, but Ten Hag could turn around to him and say, well, you're going to get some first team football, but everyone's going to have their role, and where we want to go, we want you to be a key part in this. Bruno Fernandes, if he cannot play all the minutes, we want you to come in and play those minutes. So in cup competitions, in the Champions League, you might be the bench option, and your key role, your key attribute in the system. So Donny, you might actually prefer staying as opposed to going to a club where you play first team football, but you don't actually go anywhere with it. You don't actually have a revitalization to your career. Plus, you might not never get back to this level again. And that's the thing, because if you go as a good player, if you go to a smaller club, the level drops, and so if your level is probably prone to dropping as well. So if I'm Donny van der Beek, I'm thinking very long and hard about the situation, about leaving. And for me, I said that Donny van der Beek, he's probably in the mindset where his brain is anywhere else other than Manchester. And I would say, well, he's probably looking just for a change of scenery. And I would have said, well, sell him on that basis. Some people want to sell him because he's not good enough, but how would you know? The guy's never played. And basically, that's the be-all and end-all with it. But if Donny van der Beek has a sick pre-season, then I can't understand why we wouldn't, paint this plot. We'll plot this idea, this plan to Donny for him to stay. So at least for me, if he has a sick preseason, then by all means keep hold of him. That means Fred, bye bye. Scott McTominay, bye bye. So both of those two can get gone, right? That's just how I feel about the situation, at least. Um, so address the Elanga Safaris, address the ONANA in training as shirt number, the Fernandes captain. We've addressed the Dean Henderson stuff. We've addressed the Hoyland controversy. We've addressed the Sofian Amrabat controversy. I think we've addressed pretty much all the key discussing, probably all the key topics, but Kobe Mainu as well. No discussions about him going out on loan anymore. I think his word on the street is that he's made it past the testing phase to see if he's going to be a fit a fit option alternative. And by fit, I don't mean he's got the energy or the legs, but he's got the ability to fit in for a certain squad role going into next season. And I'd be happy with that. I'd be absolutely happy for Kobe Mainu to have the sporadic first teamer role. I would, to be able to have a game or two here or there, and if there's a nothing game to be played, then Kobe Mainu is your guy. I think that would be a viable option, a viable alternative. Let's say, for argument's sake, imagine that imagine that's our midfield option, right? The depth that we have in midfield. So we've got Casemiro, or the DM position, right? Casemiro, Sofian Amrabat, Kobe Mainu, right? Next to him, got Mason Mount, Ericsson, / Donny van der Beek if you want to include him in that role. Or, on the other side of things, Bruno Fernandes, backup, Donny van der Beek. That's some good depth there. That is some good depth. I'd be happy with that sort of midfield depth. Some people might say, well, Fred should be in there or Scott McTominay should be in. No, they shouldn't. They really, really shouldn't. Maybe if we don't sell, for whatever reason, if we cannot sell Fred, which as things go, I think it's more likely that we'll sell Fred rather than Scott McTominay. If I ever want there to be, you can only sell one, fine, have it your way. We sell Scott McTominay then. Anything that sort of breaks this stupid cycle of Lingard syndrome, and I call this Lingard syndrome just specifically because there's this sick habit of people who rate Scott McTominay not actually because he offers unique qualities to this team, but because of just his age profile. That's it. Like, why? He is 26 going on 27 this season. Why are we still sitting here and saying, but he's the youngest senior midfielder? Like, shut up. If it was up to you, Scott McTominay could hit 40 years of age and you'd still want him to start for your club because, one, it's toxic if you don't back a player and if you don't support a player. Oh, you're so toxic. How dare you criticize this player? He's 40 years old. He's in a wheelchair and he can't do anything. He can't feel anything from below the neck. But you'd still, because he's 40 years of age, and you use the age profile argument and this toxic thing of like, well, because he's so young, he's not young. He's not young. Stop it. Shut up. This is not like, this is one of the mentality side of things that hold us back. It's like Kevin De Bruyne, 31 years of age. Anyone in this league would want Kevin De Bruyne in their team because he's actually world class. Someone like Erling Haaland, freak of nature, a fucking robot, a literal robot, cyborg, fucking Kryptonian, is playing at striker position for Manchester City and his early 20s. and he's breaking records for fun. Notice, right, how no one gives a toss about either of those two players' ages because they're so high in quality that profile, that age does not matter. But Scott McTominay, because he's so crap on the football pitch, everyone tries to make an excuse for him to support the player by saying, oh, well, he's young, he's got the best years ahead of him. He is yet to show this football club what he's actually good at. And this is the thing, for anyone saying, but he's a great midfielder. Oh, really? Then why did Ten Hag go to Newcastle and start him up top? Because they thought, well, he could be a striker. Oh, look, he's the new number 9. He scored 4 goals on international duty for Scotland. Oh, my God. I mean, Jesus Christ. Just because a player gets some goals in some nothing international games does not mean that he's going to be this revelation for this team. I mean, Jesus Christ, Scott McTominay has been doing that where you run from deep and scoring goals for this team for bloody ages, but it's meant absolutely. It's like Reece Nelson's goal against Bournemouth for Arsenal, and everyone was just like absolutely losing it. It's like, this player is massive. He's come up so clutch for us, but we didn't win the league with him. Oh, okay. I retract my statement. So basically, that's kind of the argument that you're trying to make here. But he scores goals for us when he gets forward. But what have we actually won with that? Does he do it every other game? Not really. And on top of that, to do that every other game, if he has any chance of doing that every other game, he's got to be starting games. And where is he going to be starting? Because he ain't displacing Casemiro, and Sofian Amrabat comes in. He ain't displacing Sofian Amrabat. He's not playing in Mason Mount's position because then Christian Eriksen comes in instead of him. And he's not playing where Bruno Fernandes is because if Donny has a sick preseason, I don't think he's going anywhere. So he's got 2 players to displace in each of the 3 midfield positions that Ten Hag system has to offer. He's not playing centre back because God only knows who in their right of mind thinks that he's playing at centre back, barring Jose Mourinho, which I think he knew full well that was a complete cock up. And he's not playing up top. He's not playing up top because we played him there for 1 game and it was a cataclysmic error. A cataclysmic error of judgment. We should have lost that Newcastle game away last season, like 8-0 again. There should have been another 6, 7, 8-0. It should have been. We lost. Luckily, thankfully, we only lost 2-0. That should have been a 6, 7, 8-0 scoreline, that. Because without Weghorst, Super Veggie and Super Scotty, the Milky Bar kid, was too busy singing about white chocolate up top. Stop singing about chocolate and actually get good. Get good at football, please. Jesus Christ. But as for the Kobe Mainu stuff there, that I'm looking forward to Kobe Mainu. I think he's going to develop into something quite spectacular. I back him to do something special. We talk about generational talents, and they you get that one person that comes through every 2 clubs in the Premier League in a new season or something. And they hit it off really well. And if Kobe Mainu ends up playing pre-season games where he starts strutting it against the opposition, not only am I going to have a wet crotch the whole time, but I think the whole fan base is collectively going to be seeing the same thing. Manager, rest of the players in the squad are going to be seeing the same thing and thinking, well, actually, Kobe Mainu has got a serious future at this club. And we've just got to nurture that talent now. We've got to nurture that talent to be able to grow and start to put the foothold into the first team. We know Casemiro's not going to be around forever. Eriksen's not going to be around forever. So there's 2 positions there that are going to eventually become vacant. And Kobe Mainu, if he's able to get to a level where he starts benching players in the squad, then that's, cash in on that and say, well, there's our star midfielder right there, and we've made him from scratch. And thank you, Eric Ten Hag, because it would be off of his coaching and his handling, his player management that will get him up to that level, right? So big ups to Kobe Minu. He can be our star boy, right? He can be our Bukayo Saka, not in the sense that he's another left winger or right winger, sorry, but in the sense that we bring him through from, well, I mean, we say he'll be our own Bukayo Saka. We've kind of got that in Marcus Rashford. Well, it might be the other way around. Maybe Arsenal got their Marcus Rashford and Bukayo Saka. But anyhow, Kobe Minu, big thumbs up if we can get him some more game time over pre-season and he keeps exceeding expectation. There's one trap that we've got with this. There's one little trap. If Kobe Minu has a good pre-season, does that mean that Sofian Amrabat isn't coming? Because maybe if that's going to be a transfer move that comes in late, if that's going to be a move that happens late, does that mean that that Sofian Amrabat's not going to happen? There's the trap question, and I suppose it's one of those, to leave your comments in a comment section on playback, or if you're in the stream or whatnot, let me know. Do you believe that if Kobe Minu has an insane pre-season, does that mean that we don't sign Sofian Amrabat? Or even if Donny van der Beek has a sick pre-season, does he mean that we don't sign Sofian Amrabat? Because we need Sofian Amrabat as well as having Kobe Minu for selection, or having Donny van der Beek, because we would like to have quite a fair amount of depth and options and alternatives in the deeper midfield positions. And not only that, but where we've got extra depth in midfield, because sometimes we might see Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount getting played out wide, because I know that tends to happen a few times in the season, where you might see Bruno go out right-hand side and Mason Mount occasionally coming to overlap on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, depending on where he is, because I think he's a bit of a floater. And I don't mean the sort that, I don't mean the shit sort, but you get what I mean, where he just pops up in all the different pockets of space, and he's exerting different types of play styles in different areas of the pitch. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how things progress. But is there anything else? Time to check up for any updates. If there are no updates, then we shall wrap things up. Someone apparently is driving on a pitch in Gateshead with a gun. What the God? Jesus Christ. That is all manners are messed up. That is. Milan's flooded as well. Sick stuff. But no, I don't think there was anything else that's breaking. So Alex Teller's done deal, apparently. The Here We Go's locked in for Alex Tellers. Is undergoing medical tests in Portugal. So that's fair. That's fair. What in God's name am I seeing? Never mind. I'm going to wrap this up real quick then, just before I lose my ever-loving mind with some of the stories I'm seeing on my Twitter timeline, because some of these are absolute aids. But yes, big ups to everyone that is joined in the stream, that is tuned in. I appreciate all the support that you fine folks have given me, whether that's in the form of subscribing to the channel, getting us up to different sort of subscriber targets, whether you're liking the contents, whether it be on stream or whether it be on playback, and also if you are just in the case of leaving comments, but also just watching the content. It's a massive appreciation to everyone that does get involved. Shazam here is a regular of the streams. Big up, great stream. Thank you very much. I massively appreciate the support, Shazam. I know it's quite quiet from time to time. I know this time of night don't get a lot of interactions, but at the end of the day, I'm not expecting everything to be just constantly getting bigger and better with every stream. I know some days would be great and thriving and comments will be flying in. Then the next day it'll be absolutely dead. It's bound to happen. That's just how it is. Everyone's leading different lives outside of YouTube videos and all of that. So it's bound to happen. But yes, big ups to everyone who has tuned in, who has watched the stream. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and keep everything on the uptick. Keep those graphs going on the incline, and let's keep trying to make that incline ever steeper. Aside for tomorrow, with the preseason game against Arsenal, I'm going to be working tomorrow, and the game kicks off at 10 p.m. I am going to be much too tired to be doing a live watch along for a game that late. So yes, there won't be a watch along stream for that game, but what there will be is a match reaction. I'm going to try and do that as early as I can on Sunday morning, because it'll be a Saturday night kickoff. So I'll try and do that and release that as early as I can for Sunday morning, judging that I get to bed on time. And yes, as for the show tomorrow, I'll probably do a stream because I get back from work probably about 5-ish. So I'd expect there to be a sort of a stream. We could do we can discuss a little bit more about the Arsenal game tomorrow, as like a sort of build up to anticipation or whatnot. And yeah, we'll just keep the topics relevant. But until then, I shall love you and leave you. And you fine folks, enjoy the rest of your Friday night and have a fantastic weekend. And we'll see you again tomorrow. And until then, it is goodbye from me. Ciao.